Ladies and gentlemen, are you next? Mainstream news admits they're creating youth brigades. New York Times says kids are tattling on their parents for taking a bath. It's not illegal, but they say it's bad for the carbon footprint. They're creating youth brigades. They've got 7-year-olds spying on people. This is in the news. This is the government taking over society. They grab masses of kids, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands every year. And when they end up killing them in their custody, 5 times more likely to abuse them than any other group, nothing happens. You better care about this, folks, and become informed. Now, 2 final questions for you, sir, and then I'll get off air and let you start advising Janet and Joe what they should do with Haley here. But it does seem the worm is turning. With the Texas Youth Commission and all the mass rapings they were doing, the government, and all over the country, it seems, despite all the CPS industry and the Child Protective Services propaganda and the federal propaganda, people know these are ghouls now, and that for every one good thing they do probably 100 bad, and they violate due process. I mean, is the worm starting to turn? Some good news here?
The worm is starting to turn because people like you, Alex, are focusing the spotlight on it. Unfortunately, too many people have the assumption that, gee, it can't happen to me, so why should I be concerned? Well, it's going to happen to you, directly or indirectly. It's going to happen to you and your kids, or you and your grandkids, or your children and their kids. It's going to affect you, and you need to know your rights. You don't talk to these people. I have a videotape of a CPS interview of a 3-year-old boy from 1987, 4 times in a row. CPS caseworker asked this boy, did your daddy do these horrible things to you? And 4 times in a row, the child denies it. Caseworker on the videotape takes the child, sits her on her lap, rubs his crotch, he goes nuts, wets himself. She repeats the questions. He changes his answers. She asks him then, realizing he's wet himself, what you've just told me, is it the truth or a lie? He spins around, looks right at the camera, and says it's a lie, and they went out and got an indictment, which ultimately was dismissed.
So, excuse me, you're saying on record, and I've seen the famous cases where they tell them, this is what he did to you, now show me, and the kid, and they do it real happy, like with a clown. Show me, this is how you did it. And they do it over and over again. You're saying they now do sexual abuse on the children on camera, and that's okay?
1987, on the videotape, they take this 3-year-old boy after they ask him 4 times in a row.
Well, they're pedophiles. How many of these guys are pedophiles? And I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead and finish your story. Then I'm going to ask you.
Anyway, how do you, one, interview that incorrectly? Of course, the way they do that now is they talk to them when they're not on the videotape and then bring them in and get them to repeat what they've just been told and say, oh, well, everything happened on the videotape. Horse hockey.
But wait a minute. Now the pedophiles on camera sexually abuse the children, and that's good? I mean, that's how crazy they're getting?
That was 1987. Lord knows what they're doing today.
How many of them are pedophiles? Because they're always getting busted and caught. We know the pedophiles get into this so they can have access to kids. And, of course, they let the foster parents abuse them. That's where the smart pedophiles become foster parents. What percentage...
I have no idea, Alex. I have no idea, but I know that the vast, vast majority of the ones that I have dealt with come from dysfunctional families. They are dysfunctional themselves. They have no idea what a normal relationship is with a child or with a wife or husband.
Well, I've been around them a lot. I've fought them, and it's always, the guys are like the Nelly, effeminate, I call it, the android pedophile model. You know what I'm talking about. You fought them. And then the women are the butch with the haircut all crazed. I mean, is that not what you've seen with these people?
By and large, if I had to say there's a stereotype, you pretty well pegged it.
Yeah, a fat Nelly, homosexual, and a butch. And then they don't like heterosexual families with kids, and they're waging war. And I'm not bashing gay people, but stop trying to steal our kids in your demon guilds. I mean, I've said it. I've just laid it right out, counselor.
Well, you will not get any argument from me that they are dysfunctional on more levels than one. And go find the real criminals. Don't try to indoctrinate them by putting them into your custody.
But see, that's what these Nelly scumbags like. They love the drama of tearing families apart. They love the power. And I'm declaring war on them.
And no question they like the power. They get paid a relatively low salary, and they have the infinite ability to destroy people's lives.
Yeah, well, we're coming after them. If you're
into a power trip, that's it.
Yeah. And again, I've just fought them. I've seen it. I've never seen it where it's not those. I mean, it's what it is. It'll be a weird, chubby, Nelly guy with a demonic face, smiling. I mean, here, let me try to make the face for the TV crowd. And then the woman is like some angry, demon. I don't know how to explain it.
I have been dealing with cases involving CPS since 1982. And in that period of time, I can recall one caseworker that impressed me as coming from a functional family, having a normal psychological makeup. One.
Yeah, so they're either perverts or they're pirates. They're people that just want the money, and they get the bonuses for more kids. I want to bring Kim Hart up, and stay there if you can, Mr. Brott. I want to bring Kim Hart up, Executive Director, National Child Abuse Defense and Resource Center that recommended you, falseallegation.org. What is your comments about this, ma'am?
Well, the problem that we have is social services. Oh, by the way, hello, Mr. Brott. The problem with social services is it was a nice experiment that's gone bad. You cannot give a bureaucracy complete and total control over families and children without accountability or the child abuse mechanism that follows behind it. This is not going to change until we remove the immunity that's been given to all of the people involved in the investigation and prosecution and accusations of child abuse by the state and federal legislatures. It's not going to change. The politicians know what's going on, but the lobby's just much stronger than we.
That's got to be one of the most evil things in the world, because this is a holocaust of families and lives and all the kids that get killed in their custody. And I guess they don't care. The politicians, just the lobbyists come in and they give them the money, and it's radically expanding, isn't it? That's one reason we see people fighting back now, is it's just, they're everywhere. I mean, pretty soon.
Well, the numbers are astronomical. Social services numbers, even as ill-defined as they are, demonstrated for the last many years that there's approximately 3 million, we're not sure if it's children or accusations because, like I said, it's ill-defined, but of those, the Social Services, Department of Health and Human Services, acknowledges that they cannot meet a 51% burden on two-thirds of those, which is 2 million, either children, accusations, we don't know what the number means. But nobody really seems to care about the hell that those families are going through and the fear that it puts in the families.
But that's what this is about, ma'am.
And the power it gives the children once they understand what the power of an accusation is, because they're kids.
But that's why you tell your kids, you want to go live in a prison with big fat pedophiles, you go ahead and talk bad about us. And that's
you can do that, but I mean, kids are indoctrinated in school now, to tell everybody anything about anything they don't like, except don't tell your parents. It's only tell mandatory reporters.
Well, we got to get out. We got to get rid of the government training camps. I want to bring up Mr. Brott just briefly and let him go because he's a busy man. And then we'll ask your opinion of this, Kim Hart, who's really heading a lot of this up, and doing a great job. What should they do? I'm going to send you the retainer, and we appreciate you working on the case. Are you going to call this this swamp thing? Are you going to call this creature here in Buda? And try to ferret out what they're doing, what their game plan is. They said they'll talk to the lawyer. They won't tell them anything because they're just slaves. Where all this is going. I mean, any ideas of how this should progress? Do they go back to their house and wait for them to send the SWAT team? Because they'll make up false allegations too. I mean, what do they do?
Well, first off, you go back and you let them make the mistake. That's my home. I'm not afraid to be in my home. I cannot stop the state of Texas from doing something illegal. Force them to make the mistake. Yes, I will call CPS. I'll probably get the same answering machine that Janet's gotten, but I will call.
No, I talked to her this morning. She said she talked to you. It was yes, sir, now that I made some phone calls yesterday and they looked me up. So, I think they may want to move on. Like they thought this was a gazelle, they found that it was a tiger. They're going to move on to some other little poor family and corner them, and which is the pain to know this is just going to keep going on. But I think they're finding out this is kind of a porcupine they tried to eat instead of a nice little juicy gazelle.
Butch, does CPS want to do an interview? Is that what's up?